My girlfriend, 23F, wants me, 22M, to care less about my appearance or she'll break up with me. About 18 months ago I got really obsessed with fitness as a way to relieve stress, anger after my lifelong best friend died unexpectedly. Initially my girlfriend was very supportive and even went to the gym with me. I want to preface this by saying my girlfriend is also my best friend and I love her quite a bit. But recently she gave me an ultimatum: either I stop being obsessed with my appearance or she'll break up with me. She found some insulin needles I bought for my dad, bad diabetic, and accused me of buying them for steroids and said she'll call the DEA and have me arrested if she catches me with them. I tried to explain insulin needles aren't even the right gauge to inject steroids, and she got angrier. She also broke my food scale and told me I'm on the spectrum for measuring all of my meals to the gram. I don't see how my interest in aesthetics is causing any problems at all. I'm the same person she used to love wholeheartedly. How do I tell her it's selfish and unfair to try and make me give up my dream when it doesn't harm anyone? I'd begin by focusing on the transition that took your girlfriend from supportive to intolerant. How do you explain it? How does she explain it? Somewhere in this transition lies the key to your question. I feel like you aren't giving us the whole picture here. To what extent are you obsessed with fitness? Of course it was completely wrong for your girlfriend to act the way she did in response to your newfound obsession, but maybe you should consider the fact that this obsession might be damaging both of you. You need to talk this out with her, ask her why she's doing all of this and figure out the reason. Have you stopped to consider that it looks like you are developing an eating disorder and she may be concerned? I've met quite a few people obsessed with fitness, and it was sometimes used as a mask for an eating disorder, especially after a traumatic event. It was about controlling their diets because their lives felt out of their control. Now, the insulin needles, scale, and ableist slur were a bridge too far. But maybe if you both went to a nutritionist together and discussed your workout, diet, and physical outlook, she'd feel better. Though, she definitely needs to apologize. You're right. Insulin needles aren't the same as IM needles for steroids, and the DEA wouldn't bat an eyelash at this. She broke your food scale, which is ridiculous. Many people use this for cooking and it's not an issue. Sorry, but your girlfriend has other issues. I think she may be upset that your lifestyle has completely changed. I saw your other post and you guys clearly weren't exercising before and now you are very into your fitness. If you are getting too obsessive, that's a whole other can of worms though. A real conversation about what her actual worries are is what is needed here. I will say that if you stop just for her you will ultimately grow to resent her. Are you spending too much time in the gym? Like how much? Depending on your split you don't really need to be there more than an hour per visit. So are you spending all your free time there? Is that her issue? Or are you just becoming supercut and she's insecure that she's not like that and so she's wanting you to stop it because she's worried you'll hook up with a gym bunny? The breaking your food scale is not on either way. It's very controlling behavior, and unless she seeks and commits to raphasiomal help on her issue or YT and controlling nature, there is no saving this relationship. Do you want to stay with her? If so, then that's your ultimatum before dumping her. Unless you're overtraining, I think working out has been a healthy way of handling your grief and commend you. Buying needles for my dad. I'm a bodybuilder, dude. You aren't fooling anyone. You are pumping insulin and she knows it. This isn't a healthy sport and what you are doing at such a young age is going to catch up with you quick. Edit. Go look at his posts and the progress he's made in 1 year. He's absolutely pumping peds. No doubt about it. You're full of shit op. From what you've written it seems she is being unreasonable and unfair. Is it possible though that being close to you, and loving you, she has seen your behavior better than you can describe objectively to us? Is it possible that she has a perspective on your obsession that you're missing because it's your coping mechanism? Coping mechanisms do tend to go overboard and the obsession has to be acknowledged and managed so that it doesn't bleed over and do more harm than good. Try to speak openly with her and find out which parts of your behavior specifically concern her. You may be right, she may be annoying and judgmental about a new behavior from you, but it's also possible that she sees something you're not seeing. I, 26M. Need to figure out how to tell my ex, 29M, that I'm dying. After a multitude of tests and recent hospital stays, I have been diagnosed with glioblastoma, aka an aggressively growing brain tumor. I won't get into too much detail about the diagnosis, but the reality of my personal situation is that I'm most likely not going to survive the year. While this is definitely a hard thing for me to go through, my primary concern at the moment is breaking the news to the people who love me. My best friend is the only one aware of it at the moment. I think I've figured out how to sit down and tell most of the other people in my life, except for one. My ex-boyfriend and I were together for 5 years prior to this fall. Things fell apart when his mother was diagnosed with cancer herself. She has custody of his very young nephew and he felt that there was no choice but to move back in with her to help her with treatment and taking care of his nephew. Even though we lived together at the time, I was in no position to move with him to his mother's place. Things got strained and we decided that it was the right choice to amicably break up for the time being. That being said, we still love each other. I've never lost my love for him and he also still has feelings for me, it just wasn't the right time for us. I'm currently reeling trying to figure out how to tell him. He's still caring for his mother and nephew. I just don't know how I can bring myself to dump this information on him while he's already dealing with so much. I also know I can't hide this from him because it would be terrible if he just found out through the grapevine of mutual friends. I have no real family left in my life to care for me, just close friends that I call family. I know that the second he hears, he's going to be torn between his family and wanting to be there for me. Even though I know that this isn't my fault, I still feel immensely guilty over the idea of putting him through this. Should I ask to see him in person? Should I maybe get a damn grief counselor to be there? Any advice on how to break this to him would be appreciated. Truthfully, brother. I think this is one of those lose-lose situations where either way he finds out it's going to hurt, a lot. My advice is, at least if it came from you, you are giving him and yourself the chance to find closure and spend what little time you have left together and say goodbye to each other. I'm so sorry for everything that you're going through and I honestly wish you nothing but peace and happiness for the rest of your days, sparkling heart. He will want to hear this from you. And he will want to hear it. Imagine his devastation if you pass and he didn't get to spend any time you had left together. Let him make the decision who he spends his time with. Have an alternate plan for care. If you're in the States, or even if you're not, you should look into a home health care, hospice nurse or a hospice care facility. My friend, this isn't easy news and I'm so sorry that this is happening to you. You're so young. My husband's subordinate in the military passed because of the same thing. He, too, was only 26 when he found out. Live your life to the fullest and spend as much time with your loved ones as you can. My thoughts are with you, heart. I'm sorry I'm not actually answering your question, but I just wanted to suggest you seek a second opinion. Doctors make mistakes regarding root cause and feasibility of treatments. It has happened to me. I do not know where to start with this, but I am sorry you are going through this. I think it's best you tell him face to face. But if you know another close mutual friend, I'd suggest you have them there or available so he has someone with him. Have you considered what you'd like if he chooses to want to be with you more? You've mentioned you know he will be torn between you and his family. Have a think and also have your best friend in on these plans. Maybe write letters to all of them, especially your ex. Finally, I'm so sorry. An online friend was diagnosed this time 2 years ago and died late last year. I wish your final time the best. God, this post has hit me hard. My best wishes to you. Please either tell your ex yourself or ask a friend who will be gentle to talk to him. He will be broken-hearted, but it's his decision to make. You are already carrying so much, please let him be there for you. Hi Op. I lost a friend to glioblastoma last year and she was never in pain and kept her dignity throughout. There's no easy way forward. You just have to be honest with him. Sooner is better so he can still enjoy the time you have. Sorry you are going through this. Have someone call him and give him the news. A nice neutral, just the facts, phone call. Get the information to him ASAP. You choose the right person to deliver the news. That person says you asked them to make the call. Please let him decide where he wants to put his energy. Don't feel guilty. Have a plan for yourself, if he cannot help you. I will be thinking of you, best to you. My wife got $500 lip fillers and keeps buying and lying. Today my wife spent $500 on temporary lip fillers. She has a legitimate job and makes about $81,000 per annually. However, she orders thousands of dollars worth of clothes, decorations and other useless items. I have had many long conversations with her about how we are losing money every month due to her spending. She keeps telling me she understands and then goes behind my back and spends way more than we should and lies about it because she said she is cared I'll be mad. Also, I didn't want her to get lip fillers because I was just fine with the way she looks. She has always been self-conscious, however, nothing I say helps her. Should I divorce her in hopes that I won't go bankrupt with her? I still love her, but she is not the same person she used to be and someone I could trust and talk to. I feel like she thinks since we have money we can just spend on anything. I'm not a big fan that she is trying to change her looks and doesn't seem like the women I married. She lies a lot, once every 3 days or so, and most of it is lying about buying stuff and prices. She has a real problem and I feel helpless. What should I do? If you're not happy you can think about couples therapy or worst case, divorce. But my best advice is to start having separate finances and have both of you pay 50-50 into the bills. Does she have a shopping addiction? I would try to find the deeper reason for this. On top, separate bank accounts. I think we're missing info. Do you both pay bills equally? Is she paying her part and just spending her extra money in ways you'd rather her not? If so, I think she can spend the money she earns however she wants. If it were me in that situation, I'd keep you guys' bank accounts separate, and split necessary costs, pay accordingly, and do whatever the hell you guys want with what's left over. If this is a problem of not her spending but her buying what you'd rather her spend on something else you like, it's not your business. The lip fillers is not the problem, the lying and spending all her money is. I would try going to therapy counseling. But, if you really can't stand lip fillers I would go for a divorce because honestly, it's her body. I think the main problem is all of the lying. She needs therapy to deal with her compulsive spending. It's not that easy to just stop and one addiction may just turn into another. And you both should go to couples therapy. Realistically this is a person who has, and earns money and is spending it on things that they want to spend it on. From what you say it sounds excessive, but I'd like to hear her side of the story before I make that judgment. It sounds to me like you two should have separate accounts, and then that wouldn't be a worry. Use the joint account for your mortgage, shared bills, and for everything else, use your own money. Whether or not you think she's self-conscious, doesn't mean she doesn't have the right to spend the money she earns on things that, presumably, are making her happy. Couples counseling, and probably individual therapy to address the specifics of her compulsive spending, and possibly separate finances. Maybe have a joint checking account for all bills to come out of and you each contribute to that fund equally every month. And she gets to spend her money how she wants to, and only her money. I usually feel like I can see each party's point of view on even the most fed-up questions but for some reason Op's position really put me off. Clearly the wife here is having some issues with feeling secure and attractive and his reaction is to leave her, for the purpose of saving money. And, to be clear the savings come from depriving her of provision. I know many couples are so over traditional gender roles and marital oaths but geez. Sorry. Wish I could do better but this one got me. My husband is bored no matter what I do. Long post, I'm sorry. For context, before me, 31F, my husband, 28 male, was in a 10-year relationship. He worked the entire time they were together, and she did not. She essentially stayed home and did whatever she wanted while he was working 7 days a week to support himself and her. Things didn't work out, and they broke up. About a year after they broke up, he met me. I am a single mom, and I work full-time. I bought a house before we got together, and my car is paid off. So, I'm pretty independent and not reliant on his income. We fell for each other pretty quick, and got married in under a year together. From the beginning of our relationship, he's told me how he's never got to live the party life, and never got to experience different sexual things, i.e., one-night stands, threesomes, etc., and go out drinking with friends because he was always working. I'm a pretty open-minded person, and I've told him I wouldn't mind doing those things with him. I also drank a lot in the beginning of our relationship, and we went out quite a bit, but the going out all the time and drinking with him was making my life feel unbalanced. I felt I was losing time with my son, and honestly just missed being home on the weekends. I'm not saying we stopped doing those things altogether. We still go to the city for date nights, we travel out of state, and even go out to local bars every once in a while. Last night we decided to celebrate Valentine's Day, since we both work on Monday. He bought some fancy steaks to cook, and I set a whole date night downstairs. Complete with a bistro set covered in fairy lights, his favorite chocolates, a fort, set out, sex, games and a TV in the fort. Covered in rose petals and candles everywhere. I got off work on Friday and spent the entire night setting it up, and it looked magical. Saturday we sent my son to his brother's house, and started on our day of romance. We started cooking dinner together, and were playing a couples questions game, that he found. The question was, what can we do to make our lives more fun? He then just started to go off. How he wants to go to the bars more. We go out at least once if not twice a month. How he's bored with life, how our sex love is boring. Mind you, I've tried to spice things up in the bedroom. I dress in lingerie, but he can't perform because he feels too pressured. A lot of the times he says can't get off because of this too. This is kind of a blow to my ego, I won't lie. I'm not an unattractive woman, I get complimented on my looks pretty often, but still, it gets to my head. And it also kills the mood for me, that every time I try to seduce my husband, we end up laying next to each other disappointed and staring at the ceiling. So, over time, and after many attempts to satisfy him, I just kind of gave up. He knows this, and with him saying yesterday that our sex is boring, while knowing how many different things I've done to try and make it fun, and new things I've tried to do, was just a twist of the knife for me. I mean, I literally set up what I called a fuck fort yesterday. He says he feels deceived, that I said I would go out with him and try new things him, but I don't in his eyes, which is crap because I totally have. We've gone out, almost had a threesome once, but he stopped it from happening because he thought I was too drunk. I feel like I've done everything to satisfy this man and nothing works. I feel like he just doesn't want to be with me anymore. That he wants to go be a party boy and try to get laid by strangers every weekend. But I can't do that, I work full-time, and I have a responsibility as a mother. Anyway, we got into a fight about it last night, and the entire night was ruined. I spent all night and morning crying, and I'm ready to just give up entirely. If you read all this, thank you for just letting me vent, ha. And if you have any advice at all on how to salvage this, it would be greatly appreciated. He should never have married you or anyone. He clearly wants to be single. You do not deserve to be treated this way. He is blaming you instead of himself for making the wrong choices for him. He owes you a massive apology, and I'm confident you'll find someone else who will reciprocate all the love you have to give. I think my first question is it worth it to you, to salvage it? My second thought, is a saying that I've said for years. It's better to want what you do to have, than you have what you don't want. Being in a relationship where you never feel like you measure up is draining and exhausting. He is the bore here. Ask him to do a date night planned for you since the Valentine's was anyways ruined. Give him a dose of his own medicine and see what he comes up with. No advice here, just rolling my eyes out loud. Hope you find your solution. You never tell a woman you're in a relationship with she's bad in bed. There is no recovering from that. And besides, from what I read, I'm guessing you're not the bore. He's resentful, but it's not with you. It's with himself, and he needs to work that out with a goal-oriented therapist. Has he taken responsibility for anything outside of his last relationship he's still hurt from? There's more to his. I think you can work through this. He needs to apologize to you, and from what it sounds like, it's his issue, and he's trying to pin the blame on you, and he's got you convinced. I mean, you've done plenty to keep him interested. Get yourself counseling to rebuild the self-esteem he's taken from you. Then, think about whether you even want to continue with him. It sounds like you got married very quickly to someone who shouldn't have been getting into a serious relationship or getting married. He should have gone and enjoyed that life that he thought he was missing out on. Enough red flags here to get counseling ASAP. Please don't mix your DNA until you do. This is not a good fit, and it will only go worse if unaddressed.